Welcome again to Lakeshore Focus, a weekly show highlighting important issues, interesting events, and fascinating people in our region. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick. It's tough operating a business today. Sometimes you feel like everything is against you, and then there are times you feel like it's all going the right way. Those who have a solid understanding of what business people face each and every day are those who work in chambers of commerce. With us today are two of those champions of business, Sue Reed, President of Crossroads Chamber of Commerce, and Wendy Miss, who is the Executive Director with the Munster Chamber of Commerce. I got two of the very best here today, right?
Well, yeah,
Yes,
thanks,
you
Keith,
do.
for having us.
You know, I had this whole group I could pick from, and I got you two.
Thanks.
So
Thank you.
This is good. And we're on TV, not radio, right?
Correct.
Okay. All right. This is an inside joke. Maybe they'll pick up on this. But you look
I can
both.
pretend I'm on radio, right?
But you both look marvelous.
It's
so this is
amazing how
great.
you look good, thinking that you're going to be on radio. And
Yeah, I think it's a good thing I dressed well.
Well, I appreciate you both being here today. And you know, business is such an important topic in our region, and you both work with chambers of commerce, but you both have had real life experience being business owners and involved in business. Now, Wendy, your husband owns a business, but you are very involved in that business,
I am
correct?
very involved, yes. When my kids were a little older and he opened the doors, I worked for him part-time, helped him get it up and started. And then I still, a couple nights a week, I'm there, and now it's tax season, so I'm there a little more than than I'd care to be.
And that business is a
CPA firm
Okay.
in Cherville.
And so is he pretty much a sole practitioner, plus
He is
you're his main help?
He's a sole practitioner, but he also has 2 full-time staff, and then he's got 2-3 seasonal and a receptionist part-time.
Plus you. When
And
he
then
needs the extra help.
yes, I get the call. Can you come in this afternoon?
So you kind of live that life of you've got your job with the chamber, but you also are still helping with the business, so you know what's going on.
Exactly. Well, that's what you do.
Okay. Sue, you were involved in business before you came on with the chamber, correct?
Correct.
And what kind of business were you involved in?
My husband and I owned the Sylvan Learning Center in Maryville. It's a franchise, and we had that for 13 years.
Wow. So you're familiar with the scars and the hardship and the heartache of business ownership.
Yep, when we opened in Maryville, Sylvan wasn't very well known, so it was really building it from the ground up, educating people about our services, and then, suffering what every business owner does, even though we were part of a franchise and, had a lot of resources. As the local business owner, I still had to, hire staff, train, do the marketing, create the relationships, and it was difficult at times.
And I say the hardship of it, but there's also a lot of joys and excitement
Absolutely.
and challenges and fun, and they're obviously, and it's possible to make money from time to time, right?
Yeah.
That's the goal.
That's the goal. So you both then went into chamber work. And now, you've been at the chamber about how long now, Wendy? 5 years?
Almost 4 years,
Okay.
yes. And for me, when Randy opened his own business, we became involved with Munster Chamber. That's the town that we live in. And I was working for him part-time, but my kids were getting a little older, and it was getting to the point where I either needed to commit to Randy full-time or find something else.
I thought you already had when you got married. Oh, you mean
I
work-wise?
did, yeah,
Okay,
work-wise.
I get it.
And then when this position became available, I was at a chamber luncheon, and the requirements were there. And I went down the list. I'm like, that would be fun. I can do that. I can do that. That would be fun. So I sent in my resume, and it took a little while for them to make the hiring decision, but they did, and I'm thrilled that they did. It's a great position. It's a great opportunity to get to know people, business leaders in the community, not just business leaders, but leaders in the community, and be involved in the community that I'm living in.
And Sue, how did that happen for you?
The Sylvan Corporation approached us. They were in the process of buying franchises back in 2005. And personally, it came at a really good time for me. My mom was ill, so it gave me the opportunity to stay home and take care of her. And then when she did pass away, I was actually working downtown Chicago. But during my years with Sylvan, I was very involved with the Maryville Chamber of Commerce and was chairman of the board, chaired the education committee, and really felt that my involvement in the chamber is what made my business so successful, because I made so many great connections. And so when I left, I really missed the friends and the contacts that I made. So I was commuting downtown Chicago, loved my job once I got there, hated that awful commute into the city, and now I do the jig every time it snows and I don't have to get in my car and drive.
Which is a lot lately.
Exactly. I would be a wreck if I was doing that commute this winter. But I heard about the opening with Crossroads, and I thought, I wonder. So, like Wendy, I submitted my resume and was just thrilled.
And you got involved with it when Crossroads was formed and the Merrillville Chamber and the Crown Point Chamber combined together.
Correct. They merged in January of 2010, and then I started with the chamber in September.
So you were really at the ground level with the new merger.
Correct.
Then.
Correct.
Okay. So to give people a perspective, you have two different really sized chambers here in some way, and I think for people to know, we have some great chambers in our region. What's your assessment of that, about your comrades in arms at all the other chambers?
I think every chamber is so different and unique, and it really is a representation of its community. So you've got some very small chambers that may have 60, 65 members, but they do a lot of great things to enhance the quality of life. Wouldn't you agree, Wendy?
Oh, most definitely. They're doing, the smaller chambers are maybe doing more community events. The larger chambers are maybe doing more business-driven, business growth events, getting more involved with the governmental advocacy or
Because we see chambers like in the really small ones, like in Couts and Lake of the Four Seasons and some of those places, but they're still doing some really interesting things. And in some ways, yours is kind of more of a medium size.
Yes, we
And
run
you're
about
how many?
240, 250 members.
Okay, and you're larger.
Larger, we're close to 700 members.
Okay, and in this region, we've really got several chambers that are fairly sizable, right?
We do.
I mean, what?
Lakeshore Chambers over 500.
Yes.
Valpo Chambers over 700. Who are some of the other?
Gary,
I
Dunlin?
don't know.
Gary's probably more Midland. How about Heather and?
I think she's in the 300
Okay.
range.
And
And
Dunlin.
Yeah,
yes.
Dunlin.
Okay. So we've got a variety of chambers, and now all the members of the chambers are not just businesses, right? I mean, they are besides just businesses, which is the majority. Who else involved in chambers?
We have a lot of nonprofits that belong to our chamber. So Meals on Wheels, the American Cancer Society, Alzheimer's Association, the Education Foundations,
The Lions, the Rotary, the Hospice for the Calumet area, Cancer Resource Center. They're all part of ours as well. Similar.
So you guys spend a lot of time talking to the businesses, and I want to kind of focus on the businesses, not as much about the nonprofits. I mean, what's the general feeling that you hear from business these days? Are they kind of like, bullish on the economy? Are they still kind of running scared? Are they how are businesses feeling these days about things?
I would say they're still cautious. They're starting to see an improvement, but not anything really significant.
I get a lot of optimism. They're excited about the future. They're looking forward to it. They're starting to see things turning around. They're starting to grow a little bit. The businesses are getting stronger. They're not where they were, but they're getting there.
What do they talk about in terms of their problems? I mean, the challenges that are facing businesses today. What do you hear them talking about? A good question. You look a little
I know,
stumped.
we are.
It's
Sometimes it's the bureaucracy they have to go through. Munster's a great town to be in, but there's some frustration sometimes with signage, just getting a sign out front, and how big, how small, the right permits, the right length of time. So some of that
involvement
things.
of government and kind of
Occasionally that can, and yet the town is very helpful and they're working very hard to attract new businesses, but sometimes just those little things, and it's hard to always navigate and figure out how to get things done right according to code.
Does this
or
kind of
according to
express it
procedure.
like, I am so busy trying to run my business, seriously, you want to know how big my sign's going to
Exactly, exactly, and where it's going to be and how long it's going to be here and what kind of material it's made out of. I just want a sign in my, in front of my business that says, "Come in."
be? So I can get customers in here.
Exactly.
Right.
So it's just one of those things. And that's just a microcosm.
Right, just one of those. What else do you
I
hear?
would say the same thing with signage. I think too, skilled workforce comes up a lot. Being able to find good people and then being able to retain them in their positions.
Well, being on the regional workforce board, I hear this all the time from employers. And this is an interesting thing. Are there jobs out there right now for people? Do you hear employers saying, I have openings?
Yes.
Yeah.
But yet, we hear all these people saying, there's so many people still unemployed. What's the problem here?
It's the right skill set for the jobs that are available. And I don't know if they were just poorly trained, not poorly trained, but not trained for what we're looking, it's very technological now, and it's a pretty skilled set of people that
I need
people are
people
looking
with
for.
these kind of skills, but I'm having a hard time finding them.
Yes.
Correct.
Do you also hear that kind of piece of the people I hire sometimes just don't seem to be quite the right ones?
Yes.
What does that mean?
I think a lot of people just don't have the work ethic that employers are looking for. They say they want a job, but they really don't want to have to make sure they show up on time or are dressed appropriately.
Yeah.
You guys will share a lot of little glances here at each other, like you know exactly what I'm
I know
talking
exactly
about, right?
what you're talking about, my friend. Exactly. But the problems are similar. It's not just our community. It's national. It's
Right. We see, we hire at the chamber too, and so you see the same things, people coming in, applying for jobs that don't meet the criteria that you put out there, and not coming to an interview prepared, and not
So we got workforce issues, we got some bureaucracy issues. When I was involved in the chamber, the Valpo Chamber a number of years ago, one of the things I often would hear from the existing businesses that they felt not really appreciated, or they felt like the chamber sometimes, or city government, or economic development people were trying to recruit all these businesses to move in, but nobody would help them. Do you still hear that?
I do from some of our members when I go out and do retention calls, because I like to try and pop in and meet with members. With 700, it's hard to see everybody every year, but every year and a half or so.
Isn't it?
It is, and I'll hear, boy, it'd be nice if somebody from the city or the town walked in and said hello, or came in and bought a cup of coffee from me, or so I think that is an
Why
issue.
is that not happening? Do you think that's a reality, first of all, that they really aren't being visited by those people?
In some cases, I do think it might be a reality. I think, though, we don't walk in the shoes of our government officials at the, city or town level, and their plates are full. They've had budget cutbacks, so they have reduced staff, and they've got a city or a town to run. So I think it is a challenge for them to get out.
We just redid our mission vision and our 5-year plan, and one of the things in our 5-year plan is we realized that the chamber and the businesses in the chamber are short in our relationship with the government, and so that is something on our next 1 to 2 years. We're working very hard to get the town government involved, and so far they've responded very well, and they're coming to meetings. Tom DiGiulio just spoke at our last luncheon, and we really are trying to reach out to them more and make them aware that, hey, we're here and we want to work with you, and we want this business to grow and develop in our town, our community.
So that's an interesting role to take, is you're seeing yourself more as a facilitator to kind of create that conversation between government and the businesses who may be saying, I'm not getting enough attention, and government saying we're too busy to give that attention. You're saying, let's see if we can make that happen.
Exactly. Just like any business in the chamber, we're trying to make that connection. We're trying to make sure that people know who our town council members are, so if there is a problem, they can call and say, oh, remember we met last week at such and such, and I have a question for you. It should free some of that communication, try and knock down some of that bureaucracy.
So,
we do.
Go ahead.
We do the same thing every year. We host a State of the Region where we bring, Mayor Uran and Sean Pettit from Maryville, and then the 2 school superintendents, and it's a luncheon, and it's a great opportunity for members to get updates as to what's going on in the communities and ask questions.
Yeah.
Well, I'm a big supporter of chambers, so I think you guys are doing a great job. One of the things that's in our state legislature this year is this whole push for let's cut business taxes. We continue to hear, let's cut taxes, let's cut taxes. From your point of view, you think that's really useful, or are you hearing businesses going, cut my taxes, cut my taxes?
What business wouldn't say, cut my taxes,
right.
bring it on? You know, businesses in our community, they would love to have more money at the bottom line. That's more income, more jobs. They can turn around and reinvest it in our region. That would be fabulous to have access to that money.
Do you think they really would? I'm just asking a question because you hear that as almost common, kind of a battle cry, cut my taxes and I'll invest more. Is that really true, or do you think someone will go, hey, this will help my bottom line, I'm not making enough money, it'd be nice to make a little bit more?
Well, I haven't heard that, but this was a topic of discussion at our last Board of Directors meeting, and whether our chamber was going to, support this elimination of the personal property tax or not. And from our Board of Directors, which is comprised of small independent business owners to, representatives from NIPSCO, it was all the same consensus is, yes, we want to be business friendly and support eliminating a tax, but in the same breath, how is it going to hurt the cities and the schools? And that we have to be cognizant and support our communities as well, because if education fails, we all know people, the first thing they do when they're moving to a community is they're going to look at the school systems. So if we're hurting our school systems, how are we hurting the potential for economic development in our areas? So we're kind of treading lightly. And
do you hear the same kind of thing, Wendy?
You certainly don't want to lose your government, your school. And in Munster, our school is one of the top. And so we relish that we just passed the referendum. But we still, I think, would like to, we've got that Lake Business Center, and it's got great available open warehousing space. If they cut the inventory tax, Northwest Indiana is such a great transportation hub. We have access to the lake, we've got train, we've got expressway, we're right here in the center, and we should be using that with warehousing some things here, but unfortunately Indiana with the inventory tax, it's the personal property, it's difficult.
Right. No, I started the show and I talked about that we have some of the best chambers of commerce, I think, in the state here. I assume you would both agree with that. So,
yes, we would.
So why do you think that's true? I mean, our chambers up here win awards and are recognized throughout the state. Why do we seem to have such good chambers up here?
Good staff, wouldn't you say?
I would say good leadership.
Is this a setup?
Yeah, thank you, Keith. We appreciate that. But I think our members care so much. Of course, they want their businesses to do better, and they fully support the ideal of a chamber to work together to make businesses stronger and better.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So what is this deal of buy local, this whole campaign that's, we talked about it, I heard you talking about it a little bit before. Yeah. Do we need to be buying more local? How does that work for you, Sue?
Well, yes, and this started with a conversation that I had with the Times newspaper now almost 2 years ago.
3 years, yeah.
A year and a half, 2 years ago. And that I saw every little town had, shop Cherville, shop Munster. And so I was talking and I said, what if we had a shop the region? Because is it possible for you to buy everything you need in Cherville? No. So then we started with the whole education of, and I was guilty of it. I love to, shop online, sit and drink my coffee in the morning and not leave my house. But then when I found that none of the money I spend online is coming back to support our community, that was a big wake-up call. And I wouldn't have known that if we hadn't started this whole buy local.
So what do you say to your Target and Kohl's and big box and franchise members?
They're still considered local. Okay. When you shop at a big box store, money is still coming back to the community, not just as much. So if you went to Barney's Hub Bootery in Crown Point, what is it, like 63% of your money will come back, where if you go to DSW, it's 40-some%. So you're still getting money back from the big box stores, just not as much.
Yeah, and you're getting it in taxes and employees and income.
Right.
So it's still,
it's a little different.
It's more about buying as opposed to just keep shopping on the internet.
Correct.
Yeah.
Plus, get out and walk around, meet your neighbors, right?
Exactly.
Talk to the people who live in your community.
Exactly.
And so forth. So what does Northwest Indiana, we're down to a couple minutes here, just, what do we need to do to be a better place economically? Just a thought from either one of you.
I think we need to work better together and to kind of take our blinders off and work as a region and not as little independent silos in towns.
I agree.
Yeah. So what does that do for us if we can work better together, you think?
strengthens our community. It strengthens, this region. We're just a nice little hub here. We're outside of Chicago. We're kind of the forgotten corner in the state of Indiana. If we keep more here, we'll just continue to grow.
Is this a great place to be in business?
Oh, most definitely, yes.
Most definitely.
Most definitely.
You guys are so gung-ho about all these things. So are you going to be lifelong in these jobs, do you think?
I hope so, yeah, unless you know something I don't, but yes. I love what I do. I'm very thankful that I am able to do it. I love the people that I work with. The members of the chamber are fabulous. The people that we've met beyond our circle, it's great.
Exactly, and we have such a unique, even though all of our chambers, and we compete against, for the same sponsorship dollars, the same membership, we get along really, really well, and we're a great support system for each other.
Well, as a closing, I have a memo from both your chambers of commerce. They said to read this on the air. You guys are doing a great job.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Your board of directors said it for you, right? Thanks for being on the show and sharing this information today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having us, and
Okay.
it was nice to see you, Sue.
Nice seeing you, Wendy.
Okay, thanks. The state of Indiana has been trying to make itself business-friendly for many years. It appears that we already fit that category, but we are trying to be even better. Recently, we have revisited the concept of cutting business taxes. As a business owner, I understand the burden that taxes place on business entities. I also have a pretty good grasp of what our taxes are used for in our communities, and I appreciate the services of fire protection, police, roads, schools, and our gigantic hidden infrastructure. Yes, it's nice to cut taxes, but I think there are some other ways that we could help those who own and operate businesses. First, let's cut some of the bureaucracy that is not always friendly to business. Most of the time, I find our government workers to be helpful and willing to make it work for me as a business owner. Yet there are times when I wonder if they are intentionally determined to make my life miserable. When I talk with businesses, their comments revolve around three primary issues: the need for good employees, being appreciated for what they do, and finding and keeping customers. If government wants to be helpful, why not focus on those three areas of need? Good employees, meaning ready and capable workers, are hard to find. The state of Indiana invests nearly zero of state tax dollars in preparing, equipping, and upgrading our workforce. There's a place to start. Secondly, appreciate the investment I have made in building, equipment, and people. A simple thank you over the phone or in person when I'm talking to the State Department of Revenue or the Secretary of State's office would mean a lot. Rather than complicate my life with forms and filings, offer to help me get the required task accomplished in an easier way. Finally, make this state a place where people want to live and work. When citizens are happy and employed, they'll spend money at my business. More customers strengthen my business and assure my successful participation as part of the economic engine of our state. So, the next time we propose to cut taxes, which may or may not help the bottom line and could reduce essential public services, why don't we ask our businesses what they really want and what will really help? Thank you for watching today. We would like to hear your thoughts about our show. How do you view the needs of businesses? Email your comments to focus@lakeshorepublicmedia.org or reach us through our website, which is listed on your screen. Join us next week for another Lakeshore Focus. I'm Keith Kirkpatrick saying make a positive difference in our world today.